Hi guys, this is Miss Ruiz. Today we're going to do the second part of the integer exponents and exponent properties notes. So you can title this part 2 and make sure you put today's date. We're also going to have a part 3, but today we're going to do part 2. All right, so let's go. We left off, we discussed in the last videos. We did the zero exponent and the negative exponent rule. You should already have those in your notes. So today we're going to go over 2 more properties, and they are known as, the first one is the product rule. That's the first one we're going to do, and then the second one will be the quotient rule. So please pause, make sure you copy all of this down in your notebook, and then come back and listen as I go over the properties. Okay, so starting off with the product rule. So the word product, hopefully you know by now that the word product is an indication of multiplication. Okay. It's an indication of multiplication. So when we are using the product rule, or the way you know you can use the product rule, multiplication will have to be present. So let's take a look at the definition. So when multiplying exponents with and here we're going to have the same base. So when we have exponents that have the same base and they're being multiplied, we keep the base and add the exponent, or add the powers, okay? So here is an example of what we're talking about when we talk about the product rule. So if you take a look, there is a multiplication happening between. If between here you see a plus, then this is no longer the product rule, and that will not work. Okay, so we do not want to see a plus or a minus in between. We will need them to be being multiplied, the two bases, okay? So that's the first thing you're going to look for. Make sure it's multiplication. Then take a look at both of the bases. You need to make sure the bases are the same. If you have two different numbers in the bases, the product rule does not apply. Okay? So the things you have to have multiplication, and you have to have the same base in order for the product rule to apply. So when you have multiplication and the bases are the same, all you have to do is keep the base the same and add the exponents. So in this case, I have an exponent of 2 and an exponent of 4. I'm going to add 2 plus 4, and that will give me 4 to the 6th power. Okay? So this is an example of the product rule. When my bases are the same and they're being multiplied, you simply add your exponents and keep the base the same. So let's practice. So you're going to do these practice problems on the same note page. I'm just going to do them here. And so I'm going to call this product rule practice. Okay. And let's start with 2 to the 4th times 2 to the 2nd. All right, so I want you to pause and you try this one. Okay, so if you pause this, knowing that we have multiplication here, our bases are the same. So all I need to do is keep the same base of 2 and add 4 plus 2. That's going to give me 2 to the 6th. Okay. Let's try another one. This time we're going to use it with variables. So let's say I don't know any numbers, but I can tell this base is x, and I have x to the 3rd times, make sure it's multiplication, x to the 8th. Pause the video and try that one. All right, so hopefully you recognize that x because I have the same letter in both of them, they represent the same number. So that means my base is the same. And I simply take the 3 and add it to the 8. And that's going to give me x to the 11th. Okay. So I'm going to try one more. I'm going to look for this one in your notebook to make sure you have solved this one. So I'm going to do 4 to the second power times 4 to the third power. Okay. So I'll be looking for this answer in your notebook. All right, let's move on to the next property. So in the next property, we have the quotient rule, and quotient is a word that indicates division. So when we see quotient, we know we should be referring to a division. Okay. And the rule states that when we are dividing exponents with the same base, so again, we need to have the same base, you're going to keep the base, and this time we're going to subtract the two powers. So take a look at this example that we have here. I have a division, and the reason I know this is a division is because it's written as a fraction, and by now we should know that fractions represent division. And so I am going to be looking at my bases. The exponent on top is 4 to the 9th. The exponent in the denominator is 4 to the 6th. So they both have a base of 4. You have to have the same base. If that is the case, you simplify this by keeping the same base of 4, and we take the 9 exponent and subtract the 6 exponent, so it's 9 minus 6, and 4 to the third would be our answer. Okay. So when it is a division, we're going to keep the same base and subtract it. Okay, let's practice some of those. So we're going to do quotient rule. Okay, so the one thing I want you to keep in mind is that you definitely need this to be over a division. So we should see a fraction. Our bases should be the same. So I'm going to go again with the base of x. And let's say I have here a 5 and here a 3. So why don't you pause the video and try to solve this one. Okay, so because it is a division and the bases are the same, I simply keep the same base and I'm going to be subtracting. So you're going to subtract the exponent in the numerator first. 5 minus 3. That's the order you're going to go in. Whatever the exponent in the numerator is minus the exponent in the denominator. And 5 minus 3 is going to give me a 2. So x squared would be the final answer for that practice problem. All right, let's try another one. Let's try all right, pause the video and try that one. So again, our base is the same, so we're going to keep the same base. And since this is a division, we see it written as a fraction, we subtract 8. Make a better 8 than that. We're going to subtract 8 minus 3 in the exponent, and I would have 3, and 8 minus 3 is going to give me a 5. So 3 to the 5th would be my answer here. We're always going to be performing a subtraction when it is a division problem. Okay, and I'll leave you one that I'd like for you to try that I'm going to be looking for in your notebook. So let's see here. We're going to use the base of 7. My exponents here are going to be 6, and this one's going to be 4. So I'd like for you to try this problem, and I will be looking in your notebook to see how you did this one. And then we'll practice the product rule the quotient rule, the negative exponent rule, and the zero power rule together in class. We'll keep practicing. I'll see you next class.